Hi, my name is Matthew Rathbun with Call Banker Lead in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and I wanted to take a few moments to answer some of the more common questions regarding purchasing a new construction home. So we have lots of clients who have inquired about this over the years, and I've put together this review of the steps from planning to execution and moving in of the new home. So the first step starts with a client consultation. There's various types of new construction projects out there. So your new home is important to you, and getting it done right, I'm sure, is a major concern. So there's options to own your own land and find a builder. Go find a builder who has land. Is it a project builder? Is it someone who does custom homes? All of those different variables take in play in how you're going to go about creating your new home. So it's important for you to find a real estate agent who's a good consultant and who can navigate those various options for you, whether it be finding land, explaining who may be the best builder for the type of project you have in mind, or even answering some of the most basic questions. Now, there's a lot of things that the real estate agent can do, and depending on the builder, some of them have their own contracts that aren't really modifiable and doesn't require a lot of negotiations. But for the majority of builders, having your advocate there with you to help navigate through the process, make sure you're getting the best opportunities, and making sure you know your choices is a great option for a buyer. Now, the time frame can vary. From a ground-up project, most builders in the Fredericksburg region can finish that project within 9 months, some of them less, depending on whether land's already there, prepped and prepared, in the county in which you're working in. Financing becomes another major option or question for most buyers. Not every lender offers a new purchase or new home building product. So it's important for your agent to help you navigate which one of the loan officers may be ideal for the situation you're in and for how you could go about qualifying and building your new home. Choosing a builder becomes important, and there's, again, different types of builders who can help you with different projects. And even setting down and realizing whether or not building is right now your best option. There's a lot of homes on the inventory, some of them already constructed, some of them just a few years old, who may be even less expensive or a better option for your location and needs than new construction. So understanding what's out there and what's available may be your best option. We find a lot of our buyers who are looking for new construction are simply doing so because they're frustrated that what they really want isn't an inventory, and that's great. We would love to sit and help you figure out if a custom-built home is in your best interests. And then sometimes you just aren't looking in the right place. So the client consultation phase with your advocate, with your real estate agent, is going to be a great way to start the process. Step 2 is the new construction finance. Again, not every lender offers a new home construction loan product, and some of them offer it in draws. And it's important to understand how you're going to set up that draw process. In other words, will your builder be able to show evidence of certain building phases and simply pull money out? Are you going to act as your own general contractor and be able to finance it that way? Or are you going to go with a builder who does all of the financing? At the end, you just get a traditional loan. Those always vary based on the builder in the project, so it's important to have an advocate or an individual to help you navigate through that process. There are also what's called construction to perm loans, where they give you a loan up front for maybe the land and certain elements in certain project, and then eventually that loan becomes permanent after the occupancy permit or the final order to move in has been given. And what do you do when you own your own lot? Well, again, different loan products reflect the different needs of different buyers. So there may be products where you can use your current land as collateral for the loan and get a better interest rate and better terms. Step 3 then is plan and site selection. Picking a plan with the floor plan is a very, very important phase. Now, not every floor plan is going to be perfect for your situation. Some of them may have to be modified by an architect. And again, you can go find those plans, you can take a look at them, but it's going to be up to you and the builder to get together and decide if that property will fit on the lot that you're looking at, what options, what upgrades, and what expenses are involved in those options and upgrades you may want. But every plan is unique to the lot and to the buyer. Next, your builder will go and obtain permits to start the construction project. Once they've obtained permits from the county, they'll be able to notify you when the actual progress will start beginning. And they will probably invite you to come to what most of them refer to as their design center. This is where you and the builder's representative gets to sit down and look at different flooring options, paint colors, cabinets, hardwood floors, the different various levels of hardwood floors, and other potential options for your home. Now, this is also a point where you can generally pick your appliances, trim work, and other upgrades. So, this is an important phase in the planning of your property. At this point, once you have picked those things, there's often a change order or an additional fee if you decide to change them later. You also will be involved in the process of choosing the lot. Now, the location is very important. It has to do with quality of the build, what they can do on the land, how much a future value would be with that property. There are certain builders who have what they call premium lots. These are very often larger than the average lots or better location within the community. To get a premium lot, you're probably going to pay a little bit more than your regular lot. So be very careful to make sure that it truly is a premium lot. Now, homes on corner lots are usually more desirable to many people, but not everyone. So just because the builder feels it's a premium lot doesn't mean it will fit your lifestyle or your needs, especially if you want a little bit more seclusion from the rest of the community. Ask for a site survey during this phase. Don't just take the word of anyone for what the lot looks like. Make sure you get a survey. And if you're building a custom-built home, generally speaking, when you purchase the land, you're going to be given the opportunity to do discovery, to check and make sure that land will work for you before you finalize the transaction. Getting a survey is a very important phase of that discovery period. We do also a situs or area preference. Where do you want to live in the county or city that you're looking at? What's important to you? What isn't important to you? These are all things that your advocate, your agent will be able to help you with in the building process. Is it accessible for utilities? You're going to want to make sure that the utilities can get there. And what utilities are important today are different than they were maybe 10 years ago when your family built a home, or maybe you built your last home. Not every area has, for example, high-speed internet. And that may be a very important and crucial element in your employment or your lifestyle or your children's education. So you want to make sure that all the utilities you know you'll need will be available in that location. And then you'll get the chance to walk the lot. Now, this is an important phase that a lot of people look over. The ability to actually go out and look at the trees, the topography and landscape of the property, how that looks in the back. Is it wetlands? Is there a creek running through it that you didn't think about before? And how's all that going to affect your property is a very important part of the process, and one that generally you and your builder will need to discuss. Now, the fifth element that we discuss here, the fourth element we discuss here is the walkthrough and change orders. This is going to be different phases of the construction process, from pouring the basement to frame out before appliances go in. They want to make sure, they being the builder, want to make sure that everything is just right as they progress to the next level. So they'll ask you to do a walkthrough at different levels. Now, this is a lot of times a protection for the builder as well. So they can get you to sign off saying, yes, we're doing what you want us to do, so they don't get too far into the project and have you come back and say, yeah, that's not what I expected, that's not what I really wanted. So make sure you keep a heads up, and if your builder doesn't offer walkthroughs at various levels, insist that they do. Ask for them to come out and meet you at the property and walk through. Now, a little caveat. You probably are best not to go on that property without the builder or representative from their firm. Those are unsafe areas in a lot of instances, and they may require helmets and escorts through the property. Oftentimes that'll be reduced to writing in the contract. So please check with your builder before you visit any home sites. The next thing to take interest here in is change orders. It's very easy during the building process for me to ask the builder to simply change something. I don't like the floor I chose anymore. We want hardwood now and not carpet. Those things add up. And unfortunately, we see a lot of people, very conscious and aware adults, will use those change orders as a teenager does a credit card sometimes and just go crazy with it until they realize that it's time to pay the bill. We've seen very often those change orders come up to tens of thousands of dollars that the home buyer didn't really realize they were asking for, but yet are still there. So be very careful and very pragmatic when it comes to making changes to your initial plan of the property. Now, the fifth step for the builder is the groundbreaking. And this is where they're going to decide, and generally speaking, one of three different floor options. The slab foundation is simply as it sounds, just a concrete slab. It's a solid piece of concrete that serves as a foundation for the property. A crawl space is usually a dirt floor with a raised area and structural supports underneath. This allows for people to go underneath to check the home, run heating and air conditioning lines, and electrical lines. So there's some work that can be done underneath of the house. And the last one is the basement foundation. This is usually a livable space that is poured in concrete, and then the house is built on top of it with exposed bathrooms in the bottom. Not every builder will finish the basement. That is usually an upgrade. So you'll want to speak to your builder in part of the initial meeting with your real estate agent on whether or not the builder will change or finish the basement and how much it'll cost. It is oftentimes more expensive than most people want to pay when they look at the grand total of that new construction home. And while you're looking at new construction online, remember that not often does that price that they're offering have a finished basement. So you're going to want to make sure that you ask those questions in the beginning. Next comes the framing stage, and this is finally where our clients get to see some progress being made. This is where we're going to see wood going up. We're going to see rough end flooring. The roof gets put on. Windows are framed out. Doors are framed out. And then there's oftentimes a wrap that goes around the outside. This is to protect the home while it's being built from elements, but it's also the initial foundation of your insulation. So this is the fun part. This is where we actually get to see the house look like a house. 7 is the insulation. This is where they install interior and exterior insulation. They will put it in the ceiling, as you see in the picture here, and each type of insulation has what they call an RValue rating. Now, the RValue ratings, this is from EnergyStar.gov, are unique to the market areas you live in. So we're here in Virginia, and we would rank number 4. As you can see in the scale below, you can see that 4 would require uninsulated attics to have an R38 to R60. Existing 3 to 4 inches insulation will offer you about an R38, and the floor should have an R25 to R30 rating. The R rating is the level of heat capture within a property, and it doesn't let it escape or not. And it's very important to have a well-insulated home, especially here in Virginia where we have various seasons, sometimes drastically hot or cold in the same area. It'll help with your long-term utility bills and more. So, make sure you talk to your builder and ask exactly what type of R rating insulation. For more information, you can visit EnergyStar.gov and just do a quick search on R ratings. Number 8 is the outside of the home. So after they have done the other processes at this point, now they start putting the brick or siding that you want on the outside of your home up. It's a good idea to kind of travel by the house as they're doing this and see if you can get a chance to look at the vinyl siding, if that's what you're putting up, before they install the first piece, just to make sure it truly is the color you thought it would be. See, remember earlier we talked about being in the design center, and you get a sample of the siding. And oftentimes that siding looks very different when it's covering the entire house than when it looks like in that 4 by 4 inch square that they show you. Especially if you're trying to pick a bold color like blues, yellows, oranges. Those types of things should be really considered for what your long-term value in a home. And everybody seems to think when they're building a home, they'll stay there for a very long time. So they don't consider resellability. But life happens and things change. And you want to make sure that you haven't been so outrageous that you'll never be able to sell your home again. So good neutral colors are probably our best recommendation. But again, take a look at that long piece of siding before it goes up on the house. This is also when doors and locks are put in place. The next steps will involve some heating, air conditioning, appliances, some more expensive things that people sometimes like to collect. So doors and windows will start to go in place so they can lock up the property. This is also when they'll start digging the holes for the decks and the patios and installing your driveway. Up until this point, there's probably just been some gravel thrown down, but there's a point where they will start maybe paving or concreting your driveway in. Step 9 is drywall and trim. we start to see the inside of the house start to take more shape as well. So walls go up over top of the wood studs. They'll start taping and mudding that area to make the seals nice and smooth across the wall. They'll add trim, as you've discussed, cabinets, start painting, and adding the floor. And generally speaking, they won't add flooring until after the painting's done for obvious reasons. Step 10 is the plumbing and electrical. This is when they start running lines through your home and encouraging you to stay out. This is a good point for a walkthrough to occur before this and then after this to make sure that there's nothing outside of what your expectations were. And we do encourage our clients to remain away from the home during these phases because there's a lot going on and some of it may not be the safest environment. They also add appliances here and start running your lines for your heating and air conditioning systems. Number 11 is the build out wrap up. This will be your final walkthrough and an orientation of your home. The builder will contact you and you will walk through the house to check and make sure that all the windows open and closed, the paint is the right color, the floor is the right type that you ordered, that there's no defects in the property. And oftentimes the builder will walk through maybe with a roll of paint tape and mark different areas of the home where touch-up needs to be done, nails have popped out, mud needs to be sanded a little bit better and repainted, cabinets may not just be just right. Those are all very normal abnormalities, if you will, of the property as you're going through it. So take a few minutes, make sure the house is right, and understand how to use your home, the security system, any upgrades or features, any smart home functionalities, the thermostat, this is an opportunity for the builder to discuss with you how these things function. And then last, the builder will do their final cleanup before they start doing the landscaping. Landscaping goes in with the bushes and flowers and grass and maybe sod, the walking pavers, all those things that you'd ask for and negotiated with the builder in the beginning of the contract phase. And then the builder will go and get final inspection and OP or Occupancy Permit. This is where they ask the county to review their work and once again make sure that it's fully inspected. The county will make many walkthroughs and inspections throughout the building process, almost each one of the stages I reviewed here in this brief overview. So the final OP is usually a fairly easy part of the process, but it is required before any personal property or any of your family members move into the house. As a reminder, in the Virginia Section 5570.1, there is implied warranties from the builder. We usually refer to this as the 1-year warranty type. So within the first year, you have the right to ask your builder to come back and make any repairs to things that were we'll say their fault or malfunctions in the systems. So this is not to come back and fix holes in the wall you may have placed or things your kids dinged up in the cabinets. This is for them to come back and make sure their work is solid. After that, they lose any responsibility they have for the home. Now, there are a couple other things that I just wanted to touch on as we wind up this brief overview. There are certain things that are coming about now that home builders should consider. Smart home features, for example, Nest thermostats, heated floors, talking houses, embedded speaker systems are all things that have to be thought about in the very early stages of building. You certainly don't want your builder to finish up, wrap up the house, get the walls nice and painted and trimmed out, and then say, oh, but I thought we were going to put surround sound speakers embedded in the wall. Those are things that need to be done by an electrician early on in the process. Special lightings, embedded speakers, intercom systems throughout the house, talking house phases, all those things need to be thought about in the early plannings. And if you'd like a list of those, you should sit down with a real estate agent who is familiar with smart home features and discuss how you're going to go about getting those things. Is it worth the value? How to impact future values? And those are things that you can do on your own versus having the builder do. There are also special considerations for alternative septic systems. So alternative septic systems are non-traditional systems. That goes without saying, you would think, but alternative septic systems sometimes have above ground features and may only work in certain areas. Again, traditional septic systems are not really getting a lot of approval now from the counties. After we've seen changes in the Chesapeake Bay Act, it's become much more challenging to get approval for those systems. Alternative septic systems are sometimes 4 to 5 times more expensive than a traditional septic system you may have had in previous homes or growing up. So it's important to consider that when you're looking at your lot and land selection. Also, property owners associations. Some builders are building in homeowner associations that aren't yet taken over. In other words, the builder still maintains them, and oftentimes until they sell 80% of the properties, it'll remain in the builder's responsibility to maintain the common areas, pool, those types of things. If you don't want to be in a property owner association, this is something you should let your agent be made aware of very early in the process. And again, as I said throughout, the ability to resell, even if that's not your current plan, is something that's important, and you and your realtor should be meeting to discuss what different features may have consequences in the future. So if you do low-grade cabinets or low-grade plumbing fixtures in your kitchen and bath, how will that reflect well if you need to sell in the future? So those are things that you want to look at with your consultant early on. If you'd like more information or just feel more representation, more advocacy, please feel free to call me. Me and my team will be happy to help you through the new construction process. We have many people who have done this many times before, and we'd love to share those experiences with you and take that knowledge, advice, and training and work it towards your best interest. So if you're looking for the right advocate, check me out at MatthewRathbun.com. Thanks so much for watching this overview. For more questions, feel free to give me a call.